Episode 55, Double Nickels. That lay pipe with the PVC crew. You know I got my boys with me like always. Oh, say what's up to the people.
What's up, people tuning in? Episode 55. I do want to say we do appreciate you guys rocking on us and following us and giving all the love, support, and feedbacks and stuff. And you know, it's been a blessing in disguise. Just still doing this, still sitting at the table. I know we took some time off, but we all had to get ourselves back on track. We had to, do our thing, this and that and the other. But now that we back at the table, we got lots to talk about. So I'm gonna pass it off to my boy Vic. Vic will say what's up to the peoples.
Hello everyone. Glad to be back at it again with my brothers here. Episode 55. Today we are going to be talking about some stuff that is a little bit heavy pertaining to this month in particular. I hope you stay with us through the whole episode and know that when we do speak on what we are about to talk about, we are speaking both in love and in truth. Those are very important things to speak on, and that's what we chant, and that's what we're planning to speak. And on top of that, we're going to be talking about some other things, such as the quote-unquote alien sighting in Las Vegas, of all things. And we're going to be talking about a few other things, and it's going to be an interesting episode. But like I said earlier, today what we talk about, just know we speak in both love and in truth. Anyway, Cameron, please introduce yourself.
Who does Victor sound
I feel like no.
Who does he sound? He sound like an anchor man. I swear to God, when he gets in the character,
he hit me with the stomp the yard with the. I'm supposed to be like, no, go ahead. Please introduce yourself.
Don't get Cam started. He start dancing.
Like
you got served.
You got slide across the floor.
Jump in, jump out. Introduce yourself. His name is Cameron.
No, wait.
See?
Oh, don't bring back memories from him. No, I don't bring back memories for nothing. That's the females we doing that stuff. Anyway, Cam, aka Mr. Nerd Boy Fresh. Follow me on the gram and all that good stuff. Definitely a privilege and an honor to do this, of course. Just like Vic said, we got a few things we want to jump into for this particular podcast. We want to make sure we allot enough time to go ahead and get this off the ground. So I'm gonna let y'all know ahead of time before we get knee deep into this. Question, comments, concerns, definitely leave them below. If y'all get offended, I'm sorry. We always say it out of love. You know how we get down. Y'all know the slogan, God above everything. You know how we do.
Emphasis on the God.
So understand how we rock and how we maneuver through everything that we do. So I just want to preface that with that. Outside of that, first of all, let's talk about this. You were talking about this Vegas sighting of some aliens and some sort. So somebody give me up to speed.
Okay, so this was pretty hot, not that long ago. It was still fairly recent. So apparently there was this sighting in Vegas of something bright crashing out of the sky. Police units spotted it and they reported it and they were talking about it. I didn't see the reports, but I did hear a lot about this. It was very talked about on the news last night. This morning though, it was just kind of a side topic. It wasn't really that important. But the whole thing is that apparently these two teenage boys saw something in their backyard where apparently this thing crashed, and they described 8-foot tall beings that were very tall, and apparently they had very large eyes, and they disappeared like they were never there. Now, is this all true? It's very possibly true. Was it aliens? In a technical sense, probably. Do I think little green men? No, not at all.
Talk that little green man talk.
But I will say this.
They ain't too far from Arizona.
But I will say this. I am a genuine Bible believer.
Yep.
I believe in pretty much everything it says. Everything it says is truth. It is the word of truth. Now, what does the Bible say about aliens? Well, nothing directly, but aliens are in the Bible. Now, I'm not trying to sound like I'm wearing tin foil, but what do I mean when I say that? Well, quite simply, aliens are angels and demons, right? They are not human, and they are certainly not of this world. They are most definitely fit in the category of alien. And what we witnessed, or not what we personally witnessed, but what people as just in general witnessed that fateful day in Vegas, very well could be angelic-like beings. After all, in the Bible, angels are described in a variety of ways. Sadly, media has portrayed angels as just these very good-looking people with wings and a halo. That is not how angels look. Biblically speaking, a biblically accurate angel is far, far different from their popular media depiction. They can be quite terrifying. There's a reason why they always say when they encounter somebody, they say, "Do not be afraid," because they're very aware of how they look.
Right.
Now, were these holy angels that we're seeing? I don't think so.
We wouldn't know. 100%
Was it
certain.
demons? Possibly. But was it something? Most likely. What does it mean? Don't really know. But I can tell you this much. You know, it's all true, the Bible. People don't like to think about that because it challenges their worldview. But it is true. It's a book of truth. Science backs it up. It doesn't refute it or rebuke it. If anything, it supports it. The Bible itself is a very, very reliable book. It defends itself. It doesn't really even need a defender. People for a long time have tried to refute the Bible and say that it's full of contradictions and this and that, but it never really has been and never really will be. After all, the Lord himself said, "My word is eternal. It will last longer than this earth." So, what I'm basically trying to get at here is that if you've never read the Bible, or at the very minimum had it explained to you by someone who is faithful, there are a few resources that can be used for that. I'll have Cam link at least one below later, because sadly there's a lot of people out there who think they know what they're talking about, but they're not, and I'm not an expert in any of this by any means, but I do know what I'm talking about when I say the Bible is simply truth. So I would encourage you to take some time and, at the very least, listen to it. Right.
So here's the thing. I wholeheartedly believe what you're talking about. But here's the thing. You touched on something that's super important. So, one.
Yes.
Do you believe the kids that they actually saw something?
It's entirely possible.
I'm not saying that's a no. I'm just saying that how.
Do I think they genuinely saw something and they think they're telling the truth?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I do think they did see something. Now, did they see 8-foot tall beings with gigantic eyes and bright bodies? I can't say I wasn't there, but I do think they did see something.
Now, do you think? Now, the reason why I ask this is because here's all the questions that would be asked by anybody who is just listening to the story. Because this is my first time really getting the story in its entirety. So the first thing is my first question is, it's kids. And
well,
a lot of times
it's not
what
just
kids.
The police reports as well.
Right, no, I get that. Because the first thing I think of when kids say, is it exaggerated? Mm-hmm. Meaning that, was it like, because these
weren't kids, these were teenagers.
Well, no, I get it. And that's why I said, I get that part. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just telling you just from perception of how people will perceive it. It's like the same thing when, we see a light shooting through the sky and we don't know what that is.
Wait, hold on. You just what year? I was in elementary school. What year was that? 96 or 97 when that it was on the news too.
Right. So
I remember that.
So
it was a light.
It was a light source that went through the side, and they thought for sure that it was like a UFO of some sort.
Me and my mom and my brother, we was just one day we was just in the house, just looking out the window. We just just being nosy and stuff. Mm-hmm. But we saw something and my mom like, the hell is that? And I was like, is that it? But it was on the news.
It was on the news. There was like story. Same thing happened about 6 months ago in LA. Huge bright light source came through the sky, and everybody was like, "It's an unidentified flying object," because nobody knew what it was, and it wasn't necessarily playing anything. Come to find out, it was Jeff Bezos shooting up their little rocket as a test. But I'm just saying that the reason why I say that is because the perception versus the technical reality is two different things. Now, that's not to discredit what you said about the kids not knowing. That's not to discredit the angel and demon conversation. I'm a full believer that is definitely true, and people do see angels and demons more often than not. They just don't make a big spectacle of it, because a lot of times they don't know how to receive it or perceive it.
Real quickly, before we continue with that, back in Jesus' day, there was many people in the world who had quote-unquote unclean spirits. Demons, if you will, and I'm pretty sure that's still happening sadly today.
Oh, of course, so that.
You know, there's a lot of it. Now, we may not see it with our eyes, but we can feel it. You can feel evil. I mean, real evil. People can feel it. You don't have to be a believer to know when you feel real evil.
Here, not to cut you off. Here's the thing about that, certain things. I am one of the true firm believers of a close encounter.
Mm-hmm.
With the fourth kind?
Well, at least the third one.
Well, at least the count. Really?
It was right there.
I mean, it was a good. That's a good movie. It's a good movie. Shout out to Richard. What's his name?
You stepped into it.
But no. Even with that,
I know. I got you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I forgot to say good actor, but good movie too. But in generally, that was based on a true story. The movie, the fourth kind.
I know. I was just playing with.
Yeah,
you.
No.
But the close kind of the fourth kind, yes, was loosely based on like true events. Yes.
Alien ship came down and took a little girl or something. I forgot how the story was, but we push things off a lot because when you say, "Oh, I saw an alien," let's just say, "I saw an alien spaceship in my backyard," or "I saw 2 aliens walk down the street and nobody know it," and then first thing you know, okay, I'm gonna call, probably not police. I'm gonna call somebody higher than that. Hey, I just saw an alien walk there. What are you gonna do about it?
I got a different question for you since we're there. Do y'all believe that there's other life forms outside of what's on planet Earth?
Now,
me, yes.
Now, when I say this, it's a tricky question. Do I believe there is other intelligent life?
There we go.
Now, let me answer. Let me explain a little bit. When I say I believe in the entirety of the Bible, I pretty much believe in the entirety of the Bible. There are a few things where interpretation is required, and I can't speak with absolute certainty because I don't have the theological requirements to speak on it, but I am absolutely a six-day creationist. What is a six-day creationist? Essentially, I wholeheartedly believe that the Lord God, Jesus Christ, through him created everything in 6 24-hour days. Victor, that sounds insane. It's God. He can kind of do whatever he wants. There's no limit to him. So, I mean, one of the things about the Bible, if you can get over the 6-day creation, everything else in the Bible is so feasible.
Yeah, I know. But that's why.
Anyway.
But that's why I was asking. This is where I was questioning.
Let me continue. Do I believe there's other life in the universe? Well, the universe is so vast and big. It is entirely possible. Now, we did establish that, yes, there is life. It's both an angel and demon, right? So, right off the bat, yes, they do exist. But I know that's not what you're talking about exactly. You're talking about an entirely separate planet with intelligent life on it.
Yes.
Right? Now, because I am a 6-day creationist, that means I don't believe in evolution. Because, well, to get into this topic, evolution is a very, very... It's very wishful thinking, or moronic, basically. I know that sounds insane to say, because that's
No, you're entitled to your opinion.
No, it's not an opinion, it's a fact, because evolution is scientifically impossible, right? It's taught in schools because that's just the lie a lot of people choose to embrace, but when you really look at evolution, everything came from nothing. We all came from the primordial soup, right? We evolved this way from single-cell embryos to complex human beings. The thing about it is when you understand how complex human beings are by themselves, you realize how impossible evolution is. That this didn't happen gradually. It all happened at once, thus the 6-day creation. It was all created like that. And it answers the debacle, what came first, the chicken or the egg? The chicken came first and the chicken laid the egg. There you go, right? I mean, human life, not just human life, all life in general is so vastly, cellularly complex that to suggest that it happened all over the transition, millions of years, information coming out of nothing, how can something think when it doesn't even have a brain? Right? On top of that,
it's comprehending, but
I'll just in a minute, right? But like this process of evolution, all right? Well, what came first, the stomach or mouth? What came first, bone or muscle? What came first, right? Some people can think, probably the stomach acids came first, and blah blah. It's not how it is, because like I said, we are so vastly complex as creatures. It is just impossible for evolution to be true. And evolution has never been observed. Now, some people say, Oh, no, that's not true. No. Evolution itself has not been observed. What is evolution? One kind turning into another kind. Not variation. Evolution is like saying a dog turning into a snake, right? Why? Because that's what evolution does, but that's never been observed, and it never will be observed because it's ludicrous. One kind cannot turn into another kind. What people are witnessing is sadly mutation, not evolution. What is mutation? Mutation is the loss of information, right? Mutation is essentially DNA trying to cope with the loss of information, so you got these defects that happen, right? And you're seeing this a lot in human beings. Human beings are suffering heavily from mutation because as time goes on, human beings are not getting better, stronger, or anything. We're living less longer. And so people are saying, well, in medieval times, lifespans were pretty short. Yeah, but that was due to other reasons. That was more because of the living conditions. But generally speaking, due to the grace of God, we've advanced to a point to where we have modern medicines and whatnot. And mind you, modern science owes a lot to early Christianity. A lot of early science was, all those scientists and physicians, they were Christians. A vast majority of them were Christians because they wanted to help their fellow man. Right now,
I want to make sure you forget your point.
I'm just, I know I'm going off a little bit of a tangent here, but this is just a really important thing to hammer home because what does evolution do that creationist doesn't allow? Evolution allows us to view each other as simply meat. Simply meat. We have no eternal purpose. We have no eternal value. We have no intrinsical of value. We look at each other as simply another resource, stripping each other, sadly, of humanity. A lot of people look at this. A lot of people believe in evolution because it allows them to think this way, right? Versus creation. God himself says that we are his image bearers. We carry his image. Every single human on this planet was handcrafted by God, carries his image, and has within them an eternal soul that will live forever in one of two places. That is heavy stuff, and that is true. And when you know that, it makes you really look at human beings different. You don't see them as just sentient meat that came out of the primordial soup. No, you see them as handcrafted creations of the living and holy God. And that makes you want to kind of treat them better. Not be so quick to just be such a, detestable acts. It's one of the reasons I can't stand pornography because, well, there's a vast majority of reasons, but one of the worst ones is that it just reduces human beings to pleasurable meat. That's all it does. Strips them of their humanity, strips them of all that, reduces them to just meat and pleasure. That's it. There's two things porn really does to the mind, and they're both really bad. One's bad, the other's worse. It rots your mind, and then worse, it kills your soul. Right? This is all just byproducts of just people collectively being taught and then just continuing to believe in evolution. And evolution is still a very popular belief, right? Even professing Christians believe that God used evolution, but that's just not in the Bible and it's not shown anywhere. I know this is getting a little, you're probably thinking, no, Victor, why are you talking about this? What does it have to do with anything? It's going to get into our topic later. It's going to really hammer home some things here. That's why I'm kind of setting this up now. What am I trying to say? Essentially three things. There is only one God, he is holy. Two, every human being was created handcrafted by him. Three, every human is responsible to him. That's what I'm really trying to hammer home at the moment, and I'll get into a little bit why later. But anyway, Brother Paul.
I don't want you to forget your point. That was like...
No, Vic kind of cleared it up what he was, with the point I was trying to make. But I will say one thing. No disrespect to you, Vic, about your beliefs and all that. I'm 100% support you on that. But I can't, comprehend on the meaning of the word evolution because everybody has a different beliefs on if he or she believes in if that exists or not. Now, I'm not saying that it does.
No, I understand what you're talking about.
But the point that you made, you did clear up, and I'm so glad you did clear up, is because as time tells, we don't know what's on the other side of the world. We all, we can all just sit here and say, oh, do I believe there's another, eternal life? answer, we don't know.
Well,
no, it's not even that. But evolution is not really that. Here's what evolution.
I mean, I understand what he said about the meaning of evolution. You know,
right? Because evolution is basically, if you break it down in a term, it's in short, it's like something that evolves into or grows into something else. You know, you can evolve as a person. Yes, you know. Evolve what you mentally, evolve your knowledge. You could grow in that regard, but you're not going to all of a sudden change from being a male, quote unquote, at least what we're going to talk to a female. You're not going to evolve your genes that way because you're already designed one way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're designed in that regard. We're going to get and that's what.
But here's my thing, because people ignore this a lot with just saying, okay, if I walk out, here's my point. So let's say, for instance, okay, we go outside right now, we see a cat and a dog. How do we actually really know if that really is a cat and dog?
Because of their kind.
Exactly. But people, like you said, will flip the script and say, well, okay, how do we know if that was really an alien? Or how do we know, it was just two crazy people got a costume on.
No, that's the point.
Started a prank.
That's the point I made, but that's not to say that it was a yes or a no, because the real honest answer is
we don't know.
And here's the thing, and that's not to say that what Vic said was wrong.
No.
Because it
just bugs me because how this world is on that, because people just brush off certain things like, do you think do you think aliens exist? I mean, honestly, do you really think that aliens do exist?
Yes.
Well, he kind of explained that part.
You should. But you can't. But see, people can't. But see, right there, when that story came out.
No. But here, define what an alien is. Okay. Define it. What is an alien?
I'm sorry, I was too far.
No. He's right. But define what an alien is. Because I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you how stupid. Let me tell you how stupid people could be. So if I went from here,
okay,
and I go to Peru, I am alien to them.
Now,
I'm using that as an example. I'm just using it as an example.
I see where you're going with that.
Alien can kind of be used as another term for foreigner.
That's
right.
What I'm trying.
The problem is the word alien has been so synonymous with aliens, right? What doesn't help is, okay, obviously you guys are familiar with one of the greatest movies ever made, Aliens.
Yeah.
Right? Now people really synonymize that word alien with something like a xenomorph looking type thing, like actual otherworldly aliens. When they could have also been titled, imagine the name. I
got one better for you.
Well, you know how crazy it'd be? Just imagine the exact same movie Aliens, but instead of calling it Aliens, just call it Foreigner.
Right, because that's kind of what it is. Y'all, I mean, I know you played the game many a times. I don't know if you played it yet. I'm knee deep playing this game for like the 4th time. You played the game Mass Effect, right?
Yeah, I played it. It's been a while, but I played it.
It's one of the. Trust me, it's one of the. I'm gonna tell you right now. The original 3 Mass Effects is probably one of the best role playing games.
Fair warning: you cannot just play one game.
You gotta play all 3 with the same character.
I found out.
But I went
on that.
But what I say by that is that when they define, like, you know, the Turians, the Snari, and all that stuff, you know, they look different.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily alien to them.
No, because technically, it'd be wrong to call. Okay, so take.
I was going to take that premise so y'all can kind of understand that from a practical.
Just to help people understand a little bit. You know, this is going on for us.
We are, but it's actually not.
Okay, so like imagine a community of human beings and actual aliens, right? But if you're living in the same colony and it's been a few generations, they would not refer to each other as aliens. They'd probably refer to themselves, say they're living on Mars, and if you're living on Mars, you'd probably be called a Martian. So both human and whatever aliens living there, they wouldn't be called aliens. They would refer to themselves. Martians. They would refer to themselves as Martians.
Right.
Right. Like, say you got something that's just like, you know, 4 arms, blue skin, and a tail.
Right.
Right. It's like, well, what is he? He's a Martian just like me. We're Martians.
Right.
Right? He wouldn't be labeled an alien.
Exactly.
Right? Versus if I were to go over to Asia, right, and I was stranded there, I'd be considered an alien.
Exactly. Because what do we call people who come to the U.S. who are not a U.S. citizen?
Typically,
we call them what? No.
They're called illegal
aliens. That's the term.
And they're not. And this isn't.
And I know this kind of strays, but it really doesn't stray from that topic because I want y'all to understand the term.
No,
alien.
I get what you're saying on that, but here's the thing. Okay, so here goes $1 million question right here for this Las Vegas incident story.
Yes.
Do you two,
yes,
in your honest opinion, you think they're gonna cover this up?
Well, here's the thing. They have to know with more certainty, like what you said, that it's not a hoax, and it's because keep in mind, unfortunately, we're in a day and age where everything is exaggerated, everything's a story, and people will go to extreme lengths to get themselves famous, even if it's just for like 5 seconds of fame. We always say, money is the thing. No. Your status and your clout is the new currency. Views is the new currency. Meaning that those views, them being on the news, true or not true, will get them so much notoriety, which will get them so paid that it's hard to say with 100% certainty if it's right or wrong. So when I first heard the story, when Vic was telling me, I was like, I get exactly what he's saying about like the spiritual context, because anybody who's had any type of spiritual presence hit them good or bad will definitely understand that there's angels and demons and there's a spiritual warfare. We're not going to go deep into that part of that conversation because we would be sitting here for like 8 hours discussing that. But understanding spiritual presence is no. But with that being said,
I have faith.
If you understand that, then you can understand that this is very possible that something like this could have happened. But to what degree, to what extreme, to what they really saw without visual evidence is going to be hard to say. But this is where faith comes into play.
Now, here's the say.
But you can't have faith in that.
Here's the say. No, faith in anything outside of the Lord is in vain.
Right, but I just want to clear that.
Speaking of which, if it's a genuine thing, would they have to cover it up? Probably not, because it's dying off on its own pretty quickly already. So if this was an attempt at clout, it went pretty poor, because it's not really being circulated. Like I said, it was on the news last night. People were talking about it this early morning. It was like a site, right. So it's already died off in traction. If it is genuine, it wouldn't take much to cover it up, and we really wouldn't know if they covered it up if they said, "Well, it turns out it was just a hoax." Well, how do we know they're telling the truth? We don't. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, it's faith, and at the end of the day, this really doesn't change anything. For the past, ever since man has been able to write, there have been some form of recording of UFOs. Mm-hmm. Right.
That's a fact.
What year was that? When it was either in the 70s or the 80s about that big quote unquote UFO they saw.
That was in the mid 70s, right? It's like right before I was born. I want to say 72 or somewhere in that area. They had like
I remember in elementary or
but keep
going
in
to
mind,
middle school. They had old school newspapers like the one time.
Right,
but it was a big story on.
But keep in mind that some of that stuff was fabricated, some of the stuff was true. So it's not like it was one of those things with 100% certainty. But I do know that. Just from a semi-politics point of view, the reason why that when Trump was in office, they tried to form this thing called the Space Federation. That's still in play, that's still intact. It's just not talked about as much because we just don't make a big deal out of it. When they first started to form them, they was like, their Space Federation, what are they going to do? Go out in space and try to figure out these other life forms? That's exactly what they're trying to figure out.
I remember. Okay.
And I know it's funny because it's like.
No. I remember back. This was when Trump was still in office, and he announced the Space Force.
Yep.
And they were interviewing people like, well, what do you think of the Space Force? And I remember, I just remember this one guy.
Because it reminded me of the stupid movie of the same. I think it was the same name.
One guy said,
with Will Ferrell.
I don't remember exactly what he said, but someone was like, "Well, yeah, we need space forces to fight space ISIS."
Yeah, it was kind of funny, but it was just like one of those things that they're aware that there's more than just us. Apparently.
Well, I mean, and on top of that, we know there's us. That's why he was trying to get there first.
Right. So they're trying to figure out to what degree, but. Interesting story. I know we kind of like slid a little bit within topic, but a really important lesson to be learned is that, twofold. One, it goes into what I always say, the habit take, don't suck. If you're going to present information like this out there, you got to be pretty certain, that you put it out there with as much knowledge as possible, because especially if something like this is true, most people would be able to you won't understand the impact. That impact wouldn't be just with those two kids. Mm-hmm. That impact will be felt pretty widespread. That's not one of those things where you be like, well, it's like when an angel touches down. They may talk to that one person and speak to that one person, but the impact of that would be pretty massive, believe it or not.
Yes, and then even then, you must be very careful.
But you got to be spiritually in tune, yes.
Because you don't
know if it's angel or
the Bible itself says, test all spirits.
Yep.
You don't know.
Because you don't know, and you got to be.
And a good one is if it does not confess Jesus as Lord, there's a very good chance it's demonic.
Yep.
Right. It just straight up tells you, test all spirits. If it will not confess Jesus as Lord, right? It keeps dodging it. If it calls him anything else but that, get away.
Yep. If it ain't Jesus Christ coming back as his soul, don't mess with him.
That's more or less.
It's, that is hours.
Yeah, like I said,
hours.
There's a lot, but we're not going to.
We must move forward because we do have a more heavier topic on hand, and we're going to slowly start guiding our way into it. And just remember the words we spoke at the very beginning of this episode as we enter into it. Brother Cameron, please take it away.
Y'all in trouble. First of all, y'all trying to get us to die today. But so it was funny, and I'll lead in with this story to lead into this topic. So
it's right here in the contract.
No, there ain't no contract. That's just instructions. That ain't even a contract. That's instructions.
Instructions on your contract. Fill it.
So.
Sign right here.